Sometimes in the NHL, it's better to be lucky than good. And make no mistake about it, the Edmonton Oilers got lucky.
You are Locked On Oilers, your daily podcast on the Edmonton Oilers, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to this Wednesday edition of Locked On Oilers. I am your host, Nick Zararis. This is my fourth NHL season as a host here on the Locked On Podcast Network, and I want to thank everyone that is making Locked On Oilers their first listen of the day. Locked On Oilers is a part of the Locked On Podcast Network, where we've got your team covered every single day. And today's show is brought to you by our friends over at FanDuel. Download the FanDuel app now by visiting FanDuel.com, and you'll have a chance at winning $300 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. On today's very busy Victory Wednesday edition of Locked On Oilers, we're going to talk about why that game was so funky. So our opening segment is going to be a little bit more drop down and maybe meta than you might expect for a game episode. But I want to start about talking why this game, even though it wasn't ideal and they did not play great, it helps the common cause. Our second segment, we will pivot to why the Oilers are going to be subject to the ebbs and flows of the greatness of their best players. And then in the final segment of today's show, we'll go under the hood, look at some of the underlying numbers and explain the story of this game from more than just the drop down. Because right now, I am struggling to find redeeming qualities about how the Oilers are playing hockey right now. It feels like every single aspect of hockey is a struggle for them right now. And they get out to a 2-0 lead in this game. And that's a great vibe. And so much of hockey is what we call score dependent. We deal with things called environmental factors, where the circumstances within the game often dictate how the players are going to be able to approach that game. And I've really highlighted in the early going here, and if you're an everydayer, you've heard me say this quite a bit. In these early stages, the Oilers have been an extremely disjointed team. They have not looked like a cohesive unit. They do not look like a lineup that has a great feel for each other, whether we're talking about how the goalies are reading their defensemen, how their defensemen are reading each other, how their defensemen are reading the forwards, how forwards are reading their defensemen. Right now, everything feels complicated. Everything feels like it's taking an extra half second than it needs to. And to us mere mortals, the process of, okay, puck on my stick, look up, where do I go? That might only take us half a second, 3/4 of a second in processing. You know, those synapses are firing, and you can do that. The difference between us mere mortals who can occasionally play rec hockey in the weekends and the professionals is that their synapses fire at a significantly faster rate. And sure, the physical talent is evident. There's a difference between the average guy who lights up your beer league and the best player in the world in the actual NHL. But we're talking about seeing and feeling the game. And right now, as a product of the Oilers struggling to really play cohesive hockey, they are a team that isn't building confidence. And I've really come around to this. And I know from my experiences in the workforce as an adult now, I know from my friends, my family, we all have those days where it feels like no matter what I try and do, if I'm trying to help, if I have my own assignments, whatever I'm trying to do in my responsibilities, it doesn't feel like anything's happening. Maybe you're not getting the feedback you want. Maybe you're not getting direction or the leadership you need to do your job effectively. Maybe you're just having a bad day and you can't focus. And the counterpoint you will get from people, and I do think it's a little anti-worker, and generally speaking, I'm pretty pro-worker when it comes to ideology. You will get the answer that these guys make millions, tens of millions, hundreds of millions of dollars over the course of their careers. The money is a reinforcement of why you need to be able to dial it up or be as locked in as you possibly can. And right now, the Oilers as a team are fighting it extremely hard. And you watch the way these breakouts are struggling to be organized when Connor McDavid is not there to carry the puck through the neutral zone, when Draisaitl's not there to carry the puck through the neutral zone. This is ugly hockey. And transition play is kind of the music within the game. Because when your transition play is crisp and it's fluid, you're generally a pretty quick team. And I did not say fast. When you are able to move the puck along quickly, there are two ways to get the puck where you want it. As we always say here on Locked On Oilers, you can pass it there, you can skate it there. The most ideal option is you pass that puck because you can pass it hell of a lot harder than you can skate it. The fastest players in the world are 22, 23 miles per hour. You can whip a puck a lot faster than that. So we're talking about hundredths of seconds here in terms of processing. And the trickle-down effect of the Oilers playing disjointed and clunky hockey is this is a team that lacks confidence right now. And that was my biggest takeaway in the early stages of this game. And Bob Stauffer said it during the second intermission report. He didn't feel like the Oilers were having a good game. He felt that Ottawa was still very much in this game, and even at 2-0. And that's one of the real differences about my feel for this team right now. And it's early. Last October of 2024, I was very much down on this team. I was struggling to see how the defense would improve. I was struggling to see how the goaltending would improve. Ultimately, of course, the defense did improve, which made the offense better, which even though the goaltending did not get a whole lot better than it did last October, they were able to get by. They were able to get to where they needed to. But in this early going, the Oilers are not playing hockey in a way that's going to be conducive to eventual success. We always talk about on Locked On Oilers here, my everydayers, how do we get from here to here to here? And over the course of an NHL season, your progress will not be linear. You might be here right now. The Oilers are probably about here. And you win tonight, maybe you win Thursday against Montreal. Okay, we made a little bit of progress, but you lose two more in a row and you're right back where you started. But your end goal, your long goal, and that's what I mean when we say linear process. A linear process, straight line, 1, 2, 3, ABC, etc. Right now, the Oilers are not building a lot of confidence. This is a team that is overly reliant on its handful of great players. And right now, McDavid, Draisaitl, they are fighting it as hard as they possibly can. They understand the circumstances right now, especially with no Zach Hyman, especially with the defense a little leaky, especially with the goaltending. And look, the goaltending, I don't think has been a huge problem. There's been one bad goal here and there, but for the most part, for what Skinner and Pickard are, this goaltending is passable. But right now, the goal scoring is really at a premium. The Oilers are having a hard time scoring, especially at 5-on-5. So when you can't score and there's an increased magnification on your defense, on your breakdowns, on your mistakes, and the occasional bad goal, even if your goaltending is playing relatively well in the macro, that dials up the heat. Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl know they need to be better. Zach Hyman is still probably 3 weeks away, maybe 4 weeks away from NHL action. And that leaves you very, very top heavy, especially as a team that has the cap constraints the Oilers do, where I love the depth of this forward group. But without Zach Hyman, this team is sorely lacking the quality of player who resides in the top six of a Stanley Cup contender. And even worse, those guys who are filling in, and I do think some of them are playing well, aren't able to build any confidence because they're so reliant on McDavid, on Draisaitl, on Bouchard to make these plays to win them these games. We are going to take our first break on this edition of Locked On Oilers. When we come back, I'm going to tell you why there is a burden of greatness on Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl. Let's be honest. Most of us can't even name all of our financial accounts, let alone what they're worth. Between 401ks, savings, and investments, it's easy to lose track, and that can mean leaving money on the table. That's why I started using Monarch, an all-in-one personal finance tool that brings your entire financial life together in one clean, easy-to-use interface on your laptop or phone. I love Monarch because it's helped me organize all of my accounts, track my spending by categorization, and get a better handle on my investments. And most importantly, I haven't opened a single spreadsheet. I love with Monarch, I can review every single aspect of my spending, set long and medium term goals for things like vacation or like retirement, and make better financial decisions in the moment. Monarch's visual dashboards and smart tools make it so easy to manage where my money's going and how to make it work harder for me. Do not let financial opportunity slip through the cracks. Use code LOCKEDONNHL on monarch.com for 50% off your first year subscription. One more time, that's monarch.com, code LOCKEDONNHL for half off your first year. Let's be real. Making excuses doesn't solve anything. We've all heard them before. It's just stress. I'm tired. Or it happens to everyone sometimes. But when it comes to performance, sometimes your body just needs a little extra support. And that's where Rougiette comes in. Rougiette.com offers fast-acting, doctor-prescribed treatments for ED designed to help you stop making excuses and start making moves. Rougiette makes it easy to get started. You connect with a board-certified doctor 100% online. No awkward waiting rooms, no in-person appointments. If prescribed, your treatment ships discreetly straight to your door. The process is fast, simple, and private, and it's all handled by real doctors. It's about confidence, connection, and getting back to the moments that matter. Visit rugiet.com/LockedOnNHL and you'll get 15% off your first order. One more time, that's rugiet.com/LockedOnNHL. And don't forget to use our code LockedOnNHL so they know we sent you. Rougiette, stop making excuses and start making moves. Thank you so much to everybody who is hanging out on this Victory Wednesday edition of Locked On Oilers. And I do try and point out when the Oilers win, and it's one game. It's the regular season. It's Ottawa without Brady Tkachuk. There are so many reasons you could poo-poo this, you could dampen this. And look, we're going to spend a good chunk of the rest of this episode kind of downplaying the significance in this against the greater context. But sometimes in the scope of an 82-game season, you just got to sit there. You smell a coffee. I know the guys are exhaling a little bit easier. I know there is a bit of reprieve. And look, I understand that an NHL player is most concerned with the end result. Are we winning hockey games? And it's on people like me who do podcasts. It's on journalists who write columns and write game stories and write feature stories. It is on national talking heads who do trade speculation, free agency, all that stuff. We are the ones who try and read into those results. We try and interpret them. What do they mean? What do they say about this group? And right now, I make no equivocation. This team is wholly and entirely dependent on Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl being two of the 5 best players in the world every single night. And most of the time, against the average NHL team, that is going to be enough. And the goal for the Oilers in the short term, in the interim, is getting the supporting cast to a level where Connor and Leon's responsibility comes down a couple notches. And when Zach Hyman comes back, that will make a difference. Tonight, getting Jake Walman back makes a huge difference. And I didn't think Walman and Nurse had the best of games, especially at 5-on-5. I thought they had a little bit of a hard time. I wouldn't say they struggled per se, but I don't think they played particularly well. Scoring chances wise, they had a rough night. Only 21% of the scoring chances for Walman at 5-on-5, 25% for Darnell Nurse. Nurse on the ice for no even strengths, but a couple goals against on the kill. And look, picking through these box scores, and we'll do more of that in our final segment because I want to talk about the macro of this game and why I think this is a confidence and a vibes thing more than it is an output thing. But there's a reason Uncle Ben told Spider-Man, told Peter Parker, with great power comes great responsibility. Connor and Leon are this good that against Ottawa without Tkachuk, against Seattle, the Ducks, the Sharks, against the bottom half of the league, even against the average teams in the NHL, like the Rangers last week, they can get the Oilers to a floor McDavid and Draisaitl can get them to a floor that can give you enough that most nights it's going to be enough. And we all know the threshold of competition, regular season to playoffs, is a huge leap. And we understand the quality of competition, that when you play the same team every other day for the better part of 2 weeks, teams start to pick up on tendencies. They're able to take things away a little bit easier than the teams that you're playing once a season. In the case of some of these teams, Ottawa, you get twice in the other conference. But thinking about it from that context, thinking about it from that perspective, these guys are giving you as much as they possibly can. And it's crazy to me because coming into tonight, both McDavid and Draisaitl were performing at a point per game pace. Coming into tonight's action, McDavid had 7 points in 6 games. Leon had 5 in 6 games, not point per game, but 7 and 6 for Connor and then 5 and 6 for Draisaitl. If you produce at a point per game, and Leon will get to a point per game pace, or the Oilers are really going to have a tough go of it this year. If you are telling me that the Oilers' 2 best players are producing close to a point per game or greater than a point per game, and they are still losing, that tells me the supporting cast is not enough. And that tells me the supporting cast has a greater responsibility to perform. And so far, coming into tonight, the Oilers had played 6 regular season games. In those 6 games, the Oilers have produced 15 goals. Do you know what 15 divided by 6 is? It's less than 3. In the NHL today, if you want to win any given night, you're going to need 3. 3 is your minimum. And I'll give you this. Tonight, the power play came through. Your power play is what swung you this game. That is an example of the supporting cast. And yes, Jake Walman is in that supporting cast. And as he eases in, you hope him and Nurse get back to what they were in the playoffs last year, end of the regular season. I had made a graphic earlier in the day on Tuesday. In those minutes, and I'll go back and I'll cite the stats because I have them here on my notes here real quick. In the regular season last year, Darnell Nurse was outscored 55-54 without Jake Walman. With Jake Walman, Darnell Nurse and the Oilers outscored their opponents 8-2. In the playoffs, together, they outscored opponents 2-1. In the playoffs, without Jake Walman, Darnell Nurse was outscored 18-15. So your hope is that you get to a slightly even second pair in terms of goal differential at even strength. And that's starting to get closer, because if your second pair is even or better, then the responsibility on your third pair becomes a little bit less. And that's the beauty of do your job. And I said, I gave the Belichick monologue the other day about do your job, not someone else's job. And on a team like this, that has so many supporting characters, that has so many guys who are probably third liners playing second liners playing first line, fringe guys playing fourth line. If everybody just does what they're good at, there is enough here that I feel okay about the supporting cast. But right now, the Oilers are still sorting that out. Coming up next on today's edition of Locked On Oilers, I'm going to tell you specifically what figuring it out means. The NFL season is here, and FanDuel has an offer you don't want to miss, because right now, new FanDuel customers can bet just $5 and get $300 in bonus bets if you win. That's right. Pick a bet, put down $5, and if it hits, you'll unlock $300 in bonus bets to use on the FanDuel app. I love FanDuel because it gives you so many ways to play. You can build parlays, which my personal favorite, I love if I'm going to watch a game with my friends or go to the game. We're going to pick a few things together. We're going to put it all together into a same game parlay, and we're going to ride it together as a squad. That makes it a little more exciting. Player props in there particular. We had a few in the Oiler game tonight. We missed one leg, but we got most of it. So you feel like you're on the right track. And then if you're watching the game and you're feeling that momentum shifting, if you heard Bob Stauffer in the intermission report say, I don't like how the Oilers are playing, Ottawa will be heard from again, and you think he's right, you can live bet the Senators to make that comeback and get a little bit of money for your pain. Whether you're a casual fan or love diving into the numbers, FanDuel makes the game day experience so much more exciting. So FanDuel has one question. What are you waiting for? Visit FanDuel.com to download the FanDuel app today and get started. Thank you so much to everybody who is hanging out on this Victory Wednesday edition of Locked On Oilers. And my friends, my everydayers, my new listeners, my casuals, my every now and thens. Winning in the NHL, it doesn't get better than this. And Adam Henrique's played 1,000 in the show. Only 400 guys in the history of the sport have reached that milestone. That is something to celebrate. Jake Walman returning to the lineup, getting the overtime game-winning goal. That's something to celebrate. Ike Howard, first career NHL goal, assisted by Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl. That's something to celebrate. McDavid, first goal of the season. That's something to celebrate. And in the aggregate, when we're talking about the big picture of an 82-game season, this game probably will fade from memory to some degree, I should say. You will remember Howard scored. You will remember Walman scored maybe. And you'll remember it was Adam Henrique's 1,000th game. But when we're talking about just the nuts and bolts of how are the Oilers playing, what does that mean for their form, and what does it mean for their confidence? And the reason I'm honing in on confidence is because a player who is feeling their game, who has an intuitiveness to how they're playing because they have confidence in their game, they trust what they're doing, it unlocks a higher gear. And this is why I always talk about, are you getting better as the season goes along? Part of that is confidence, and part of that is building confidence. You build confidence, as John Tortorella once so eloquently put it. If you are in a rut, if you are stinking up the joint, go have one good shift. Don't worry about the game. Don't go out there, have one good shift. You have one good shift. Okay. You come back to the bench, you sit down, you suck wind, you get some water, you get some Gatorade. Okay. I had one good shift. All right. I got 3 more times, 3 more cycles till I'm going back out there. Now, it's not about the net. I'm going back out there. This shift, I need to go out there and I need to have a good shift. Okay. You strung together 2 good shifts in a row. That is something you can start building on. And even if you have a bad one, all right, you had 2 good ones, 1 bad one. Let's have a 3rd good one. All right, 3 and 1. We're making progress. You have more good shifts than you do bad ones. You had a good period. You string together a couple good periods. You string together a good game. You string together a couple good games. You might pull out a winning streak. And you're not going to win every game, but you win 2 out of every 3. You pick up a couple loser points here and there. You find ways to win hockey games. And when you are in the suck, when you are in a rut, it really is a matter of hunkering down. As Connor so eloquently put it in the 2025 Stanley Cup final, dig the bleep in. Find a way. And that's the 24 Stanley Cup final, I should say. That was memorialized in the Amazon series. But dig in. When you are struggling, get back to your basics. Everybody who has ever picked up a hockey stick and dangled a ball or a puck or a wad of socks rolled up or a piece of paper crumbled up has thought about just get it down there. Go to the next sequence. Live for the next play. And that's how you have to think when things aren't going well. Because these guys right now are playing very tight. They are playing very stressed out. And you can see that in the decisions they're making. And these are not necessarily conscious decisions. Connor McDavid's not saying, I'm struggling, I can't shoot here. McDavid is processing the game so fast. He is processing the game like a supercomputer would. Like if you had inputted his mind into some, I don't even know what, NVIDIA chips, whatever they're called. As you can tell, I'm very up on my technology. When you are processing the game at that degree, you are making those decisions at split seconds, not even split, hundreds of thousands of seconds. You are making those decisions. And how you are feeling about your game is going to dictate some of those decisions because they need to be habitual. They need to be instinctual. If you are at the professional ranks in any sport and you have to actively think about, okay, I got the puck. I look up, right, center, left, too slow. You're already getting forechecked. These guys have to make these decisions on split-second basis. And one of the critiques I keep seeing of Connor right now on Twitter, the comments on YouTube, comments on The Athletic, he is not shooting enough. And coming into tonight's game, I want to make sure I have the number right. coming into tonight's game, McDavid had 16 shots on goal through 6 games, about a little more than 3. So we'll say 3.0, 3.2, 3.1 something divided by 6 and 1. So he's about 3 shots a game. And when a guy is struggling, sometimes they feel that if I just keep ripping it, I'm hurting the team. And look, no one's saying Connor's struggling. I think if you're getting on his case as to why this team isn't playing well, I think you're missing the boat to some degree. But on the aggregate, big picture, the Oilers were outchanced 41-30. That sounds kind of bad. That is a good chunk of the possession in the game. But being that Ottawa was flinging pucks at net and Ottawa is a volume-based offense, only 17 of those 41 scoring chances resulted in shots on goal. So Stuart Skinner only has to make 17 saves at even strength, mind you. All these numbers are at 5-on-5. High danger are 5-5. Okay. So if there's all this junk offense that Ottawa is producing, 41 to minus 17, 24 of those scoring chances don't result in something Stuart Skinner needs to do. That's telling you the Oilers are playing okay defense. They are preventing shots from getting through. They are preventing scoring chances from becoming shots on goal. They are playing such good defense that these shots are off net or they're being blocked. Okay. That's workable. But you get to the expected goals, that's a little uglier. But right now, you need anything to start building confidence for this group. And in an ideal world, you have good process. Good process leads to good results. Good results build confidence. Confidence builds more good process. Good process leads to more good results. And you keep building that up. The same metaphors we had before. Good shifts, good period, good game, good week, good month, good season. That is your goal. You need to make incremental progress and keep building your confidence. For someone like Ike Howard, getting that first one on the sheet gets the monkey off the back. You feel good. For Connor, you get one, you get off the snide, you get the Ziggy off the board, the donut off the board, whatever you want to call it. That builds a little bit of confidence. And okay, I shot it once, I can shoot it again. It might go in again. And I'm not here to say Connor needs a pep talk. There is no player, and Bob said it during the intermission, there is no player in the world who is more of a harsh critic of themselves than Connor McDavid. He understands how much this team needs him to carry right now while it sorts out the rest. I am pretty confident he will get to where he needs to for this team to get to the postseason. But if they're going to go where they want to go, it's going to take a lot more than just Connor McDavid. That will do it for today's edition of Locked On Oilers. Thank you so much to everybody who made Locked On Oilers their first listen of the day. Locked On Oilers is a part of the Locked On Podcast Network where we've got your team covered every single day. Be sure to check out Locked On NHL Game Night, where they are covering every game every night until a Stanley Cup champion is crowned in June. Get local analysis on a national scale. Find NHL Game Night on the Locked On NHL feeds on YouTube or wherever you listen to your podcasts. I will talk to you guys tomorrow, and we will be back with Chris Knobloch's hierarchy of forward trust. Until then, let's go Oilers.